This man walked out of a Portland bar and was never seen alive again. 6 days later, his body surfaced in the Willamette River. No wallet, no phone, and strangely, no water in his lungs. He's not the only one. In fact, over a dozen young men have vanished the same way. Same city, same pattern, same river. The Portland killer, the chilling truth. Behind the river murders, police say it's all just coincidence. But families and internet investigators think otherwise. Because what they found in one victim's phone might be the key to everything. He was young, athletic, smiling in every photo. 30-year-old Owen Klinger wasn't the kind of guy you'd expect to vanish. He was a college student at the University of Portland, a lacrosse player, and by all accounts, happy, stable, focused. On the night of October 6, 2019, Owen told his roommates he was heading to a movie screening on campus. But hours later, he walked out of the university gates and into the shadows. He never came back. His friends waited, then called, then panicked. By the next morning, Owen's name was everywhere. Group chats, Reddit, Facebook. A missing poster was printed and shared across the state. It didn't take long for the police to join the search, but what they found, or didn't find, would spark a theory more chilling than anyone was ready for. Owen's digital footprint showed something strange. He had turned off his phone minutes after leaving campus. No texts, no GPS, nothing. Surveillance footage eventually surfaced. It showed Owen walking calmly through the city, heading west, away from the school. No signs of struggle, no one following him. Just a young man alone, at night. Disappearing frame by frame, 2 weeks passed. Hope was shrinking. Then, on October 20th, a jogger spotted something floating near the shore of the Willamette River. It was Owen. The medical examiner's report was expected to bring closure. Instead, it raised questions. There was no water in his lungs. No signs of trauma. Toxicology showed low levels of alcohol, but nothing else. His wallet and phone were missing, and oddly, so were his shoes. Police called it non-suspicious, said it was likely accidental. But Owen's family disagreed. They knew their son, and they weren't the only ones with doubts, because Owen's case wasn't unique. Just 2 years earlier, 22-year-old Griffin Lampron vanished from Portland after a night out. His body was found in the river days later. Same condition, no struggle, no obvious cause of death, no water in the lungs. The official ruling? Another accidental drowning. And before Griffin, there was Cole Knight, Luke Johnson, Riley, Fairholm, different names, same outcome. All young men, all disappearing alone at night, all found dead in the Willamette, and none of them had drowned. Local forums started buzzing. Reddit threads exploded. TikTok videos stitched timelines, maps, and theories. Some speculated about a serial killer. Others wondered about trafficking, rings. But one phrase kept coming up again and again: the smiley face killer. A decades-old theory, dismissed by most law enforcement, but impossible to ignore. It described an alleged group, or individual, targeting young men across the country, dumping their bodies in rivers, often leaving behind a tag, a smiley face, drawn somewhere near the scene. In Portland, no smiley face had been found. Yet Owen's parents refused to accept the official explanation. They hired private investigators. They retraced his last steps. And in doing so, they found something. Owen had withdrawn $150 from an ATM the night he vanished. He had no reason to need that money, no events planned, no purchases expected. The camera above the ATM conveniently offline, the footage missing. Then came the detail that truly haunted them. Owen wasn't just walking randomly through the city. His route, his direction, led straight toward the river. Why? That's when the media caught wind. Podcasts ran specials. Journalists drew timelines. Accidental, drowning, started to sound like a lazy conclusion, or worse, a cover-up. By 2022, there were at least 7 confirmed cases with eerily similar traits. Each victim, male, young, athletic. Each disappearance, at night, alone. Each recovery, from the same stretch of water. And each autopsy, suspiciously vague. But despite the online buzz, the Portland Police Bureau held firm. No signs of foul play, no connections between the cases, no investigation into a larger pattern. And that, according to many, is the most terrifying part. Because what if the killer is hiding in plain sight? She was just walking home, that's all. It was a chilly evening in Portland, Oregon. The kind where the city lights shimmer through a light fog and the streets feel quieter than usual. 23-year-old Emily Reyes left her shift at the downtown cafe at exactly 7:02 p.m. She messaged her roommate, "On my way, do you want sushi or Thai?" She never made it home. The last confirmed sighting of Emily came from a blurry security camera outside the bus stop. She's standing alone, glancing at her phone, then nothing. The next frame, she's gone. No sign of struggle, no witnesses, no unusual activity logged by police dispatch. Just a woman walking home, vanishing like smoke in the night. When her roommate reported her missing hours later, police treated it as routine. Young woman probably ran away, they said. But Emily wasn't the type. She had rent due, a weekend trip planned, and she always answered her messages. Always. Then came the first break. Her phone was found 12 miles from where she disappeared. Placed carefully on the edge of a bridge. Still powered on. No fingerprints but hers. It felt staged. And that was just the beginning. A pattern began to emerge. One that the authorities didn't want to admit. One that was hiding in plain sight. What if Emily wasn't the first? Just 2 weeks earlier, another young woman, Allison Price, 26, had vanished, under eerily similar circumstances. She was last seen leaving a night class at Portland State University. Same profile, brunette, petite, walking alone. Her phone, found 6 miles from where she disappeared, still powered on, left on a park bench, no fingerprints. At the time, the disappearances were treated as isolated events, no link, no urgency. Until a journalist named Tasha Green noticed the pattern. Tasha had been following missing persons reports for months, trying to piece together Portland's rising number of cold cases. She connected Emily and Allison, same age range, same hair color, same vanishing act without a trace. And there was more. A third name surfaced, Marissa Hale, disappeared 3 months prior. Same MO, same chilling detail, phone found, wiped clean, left somewhere public. At first glance, Portland's police didn't believe the cases were related. There was no DNA, no signs of forced entry or violence. But Tasha pressed further. She built a timeline, a digital map. She layered reports, matched dates, flagged similarities. Then something caught her eye. Each phone was found within walking distance of a water source. Emily's by the Willamette River, Allison's near Crystal Springs Creek, Marissa's just yards from Johnson Lake. It wasn't random. These weren't panicked drop-offs or desperate cries for help. Someone was sending a message. Tasha took her findings to a retired homicide detective, Jacob Reno, known for his obsession with behavioral profiling. He didn't hesitate. "This is the same person," he said, "and they're not done." That was when the city began to whisper. There was a serial predator on the loose. The deeper Jacob Reno dove, the stranger things became. He reviewed Tasha's timeline, mapped out the locations, and noticed something no one else had seen. Every disappearance happened on a Friday. Not just any Friday, but the last Friday of every month. 3 women, 3 months, 3 Fridays, 1 predator. But there was something else. A streetlight camera near Crystal Springs had malfunctioned the night Allison went missing. The footage was corrupted, almost like it had been tampered with. Jacob flagged it immediately. He contacted a private forensic video analyst, and after days of processing, 1 frame was salvaged. It showed the silhouette of a man, tall, broad shoulders, walking just behind Allison, face not visible, but his head was slightly turned. Like he knew the camera was there, like he wanted to be seen, just enough to haunt. The footage was released to the public. News headlines exploded. Is Portland being hunted? But instead of deterring the killer, it did the opposite. The next Friday came and went. No abductions. But the Friday after that, Portland woke up to something worse. Tasha received an envelope at her office. No return address. Inside was a photo, black and white, grainy. It showed Emily, just hours before her disappearance. Not the selfie from her social media, not a campus security frame, a photo taken from behind a tree, close enough to see the fear in her face. On the back, one line was scribbled in red ink. "You're following me. Now I'm watching you." It wasn't just a threat. It was an invitation. The game had officially begun. Detective Reno pinned the photograph to his board. Next to it, he connected red strings between the victims, Emily, Allison, and Sarah. The locations were spread across different districts, but when mapped, a chilling shape began to form. It wasn't random. Each disappearance occurred within walking distance of Portland's Willamette River. Each body, though never found, was suspected to have been dumped or moved close to water access points. Yet no one had ever seen anything until now. A woman named Grace Turner came forward. She claimed to have seen someone dragging a large duffel bag into a white cargo van parked beneath the Hawthorne Bridge, 2 days before Sarah vanished. She didn't report it at the time. She was homeless and afraid of getting involved. But when she saw the silhouette from the released footage on TV, her memory jolted. She described the man in detail: black boots, gloves, a patch on his jacket. Military style. That was the missing puzzle piece. Reno ordered a full review of all former service members in the Portland area with psychological discharges. The list was long, until he cross-referenced it with parking tickets issued within 2 miles of each victim's last location. One name popped up twice: Derek Miles, a former Marine, dishonorably discharged in 2012. He had no criminal record. No known associates, no digital presence. But he did own a white cargo van, and the moment Reno ran the plates, something terrifying happened. The DMV system locked out. Someone had wiped the records in real time. Someone was watching. Inside the system, Reno froze. This wasn't just a predator. It was someone trained, someone calculated, someone who knew the system and how to move within it, undetected. For the first time in his career, Reno felt it. They were dealing with a ghost. Detective Reno knew they had one chance. Now that the suspect's DMV records were wiped, they were in a race against time before he vanished again, or struck once more. So they set a trap. They used the only clue the killer didn't know he'd left: the river. Every abduction had happened near it. It wasn't random. It was ritual. The FBI set up discreet surveillance along the eastern stretch of the Willamette, using thermal drones at night and unmarked cars during the day. Officers in civilian clothes blended into the homeless population. Trash containers were searched. Abandoned boats were inspected. But days passed. Nothing. Until April 6th, 3:14 a.m. One of the thermal drones caught a figure dragging something heavy down the embankment near Cathedral Park. It was a body, wrapped in tarp. The man moved slowly, methodically. The team mobilized, but Reno ordered no engagement. Yet, he wanted to be sure. He needed this to stick in court. The man, later confirmed as Derek Miles, loaded the tarp into a small boat docked in silence under the bridge. He rowed out 10 yards, then stopped. He sat still, staring at the city skyline for several minutes. Then, with chilling calm, he tipped the body into the water, That's when Reno gave the order. Agents closed in, quietly surrounding the bank. A sniper team stationed upstream had eyes on the boat. But just before they moved, something unexpected happened. The man stood up and jumped, straight into the freezing river. Divers were dispatched instantly. A helicopter swept the area within seconds. But when they reached the spot, he was gone. No body, no blood, just his boat. Empty, and one item left behind on the seat, a Polaroid. It showed a woman tied to a chair, eyes wide, still alive, and written in red ink at the bottom, "You're too late, but you're getting warmer." It wasn't over. It had only just begun. 3 days later, a janitor at a storage facility just outside Troutdale called the police. He'd found something in Unit 17B. The unit had been abandoned, rent overdue. But when the manager cut the padlock to inspect it, what they saw inside didn't look like furniture or boxes. It looked like a crime scene. Blood on the floor, rope, a broken camcorder. And in the back corner, a hatch, half covered in concrete dust. When detectives arrived, they opened the hatch and descended into complete darkness. The air was damp and heavy. The stairs creaked under their feet. And at the bottom, they found a room, cement walls, soundproofed, chains bolted to the ground, and carvings on the walls, dates, initials, some of them scratched in desperation. The newest one read, March 29th. She won't stop screaming. On a rusted table, they found 7 tapes labeled only with dates. One matched the date printed on the Polaroid left in the boat. When investigators played it, they saw her, the woman from the photo, alive, crying, pleading for help. But the tape ended before anything else could be seen. Still, it was enough. Forensics found partial prints on the tapes and DNA on the chains. They matched 4 victims previously, believed to have drowned. These weren't drownings, these were murders, and the so-called Portland River deaths. They were never accidental. Each one had been staged, dumped in the river only after they died somewhere else, probably in that room, but the killer was still out there. And if the Polaroid was right, someone else was still alive. They had a room, they had DNA, they had video proof, but they still didn't have a name. The prints on the tapes didn't match any known offenders. The DNA profile had no match in CODIS. It was as if the killer didn't exist, until they checked the surveillance footage from the storage facility's main gate, and there he was. March 30th, a man in dark jeans, a hooded jacket, and black gloves. He parks a silver SUV, unlocks Unit 17B, and spends exactly 17 minutes inside. When he leaves, he's dragging a tarp. The timestamp matches. The night the woman in the Polaroid disappeared. Detectives freeze the frame and enhance it. A partial plate number, just 3 digits, but it was enough. They ran it through Oregon DMV records and narrowed it down to one vehicle. A 2006 Chevy Suburban registered to a Thomas Riley, age 53, occupation long-haul trucker, no criminal record, no parking tickets. No red flags, but when they went to question him, he was gone. Neighbors said they hadn't seen him in days. Inside his house, they found something chilling. In the basement, a single mattress on the floor, cameras, chains, locks, and a wall covered with maps. Pushpins marked dozens of cities across the country: Troutdale, Eugene, Seattle, Boise, Salt Lake City, Denver, each with a note attached. Date, a name, a number. Most of those names matched missing persons reports, but a few were still open cases. Some of the victims had never even been connected. This wasn't a local killer. This was national, and Thomas Riley wasn't just running. He had a plan. Just when agents thought they'd lost him, they got a ping. A traffic camera near Spokane, Washington flagged his SUV. 6 hours later, a motel clerk recognized his face from a news alert and called it in. SWAT surrounded the motel. They knocked on the door. No answer. Inside, no sign of Riley. But on the bed, They found something he left behind, a new Polaroid, another woman, another note. Too late. She's mine now. Her name was Emily Lawson, 28 years old, disappeared 2 nights before the motel raid. Her parents said she'd gone to meet a friend for dinner, but that friend never existed. Her phone pinged once, in Kalispell, Montana, and then went dark. Inside the motel, agents found a map with Kalispell circled in red. Next to it, a date and a time. An hours. That's how long they believed she had. Riley was ahead of them, but not by much. Every hour counted. FBI field teams spread across Montana, gas stations, motels, truck stops. They canvassed all of it, until a call came. A trucker spotted a man fitting Riley's description entering an abandoned farmhouse near the Flathead National Forest. Police rushed to the scene. No backup. No waiting. They burst into the house. It was silent. Too silent. In the basement, they found a locked door. Behind it, a dark, soundproof room, and chained to the wall. Emily. Alive. Barely. She had bruises, a broken wrist, but she was breathing. When she saw the officers, she collapsed in tears, one word over and over again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But Riley wasn't there. On the wall, scribbled, in marker, "You're getting better at this." He had escaped again. Outside, hidden in a crawl space beneath the barn, agents found a duffel bag. Inside, multiple IDs, a burner phone, cash, and another Polaroid. Not Emily this time. Someone else. Someone who hadn't been reported missing. Not yet. The photo in the duffel bag sent shockwaves through the task force. It showed a woman, early 30s, bound and unconscious in what looked like a storage unit. No name, no location, but one detail stood out. The corner of the frame, a partial logo on the wall, barely visible, faded red paint, Maxwell Self-Storage, Portland. He was circling back. While the country searched high and low, Riley was returning to the very city he started in. Was bold, reckless, and the FBI knew exactly why. He wanted them to see him. It wasn't about escape anymore. It was about control. He wanted to end it his way. Surveillance teams hit every Maxwell facility in the metro area. Hours passed. Nothing. Until Unit 318 at the northeast location triggered a silent alarm. A door had opened, and someone had stepped inside. By the time agents arrived, Riley was walking away from the unit, calm, hoodie over his head. When ordered to stop, he didn't run. He smiled. Took you long enough. Inside the unit, the woman from the photo was alive, barely dehydrated, bound, but untouched. He'd given her food, water, blankets. She told officers. He said I'd be the one they found, the one that ended it. But this wasn't the end, as Riley was placed in cuffs. One agent noticed something odd. He wasn't armed, no resistance, no backup plan, and in his pocket, a folded piece of paper, a note. Written in block letters, "I'm done running, but I'm not done talking." That was the beginning of a whole new nightmare. They had him, alive, in custody. But the sense of victory was hollow. What followed was a storm, over 27 hours of taped confessions, some clear, some fragmented, some whispered like secrets not meant to be spoken. Riley recounted details only the killer could know. Victims from Oregon, Washington, California, and others not yet identified. Each story, he told, reopened wounds in families who had tried to move on, and in nearly every case the same pattern. "I just wanted to see if anyone cared." His words echoed through press briefings and courtrooms. Some called him a monster, others a symptom of a system that missed the signs, again and again. But amid the horror, something else emerged. The survivors, the families who refused to let the cases die in silence, the detectives who spent decades chasing shadows, and the one woman in Unit 318 who lived to speak his name. She chose not to. He doesn't get that power anymore. Her voice, quiet but firm, was the final blow to Riley's control. In court, he pleaded guilty. No trial, no spectacle, just a single statement. You found me. That's what matters. He was sentenced to multiple life terms, without parole. But the fear he left behind still lingers. Portland's streets aren't quite the same. Parents lock doors a little tighter, and cold cases from nearby states are being re-examined, one by one. But there's hope, because for every killer who hides in the dark, there's someone who refuses to stop searching for the light. We told you this story because the victims deserve to be remembered, not just as headlines, but as human beings. If this case moved you, share it. Let their names live on. Let their stories push for change. Which part of this case shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments. And if you believe these stories should never be forgotten, subscribe. And join us for the next one, because the truth always comes out. Eventually.